I'm 84 years old, and I think what hurts most these days isn't the stiffness in my knees or the trouble I have sleeping. It's how much I miss the people I never thought I'd lose. Not the ones who died suddenly, though there have been plenty of those, but the ones I slowly let fade away while I was busy being someone I thought I had to be. I used to think I'd miss my youth, the energy, the looks, the sense that life was stretching out forever ahead of me. But that's not what I aches for now. I aches for the voices. For dinners that ran too long, for names in my address book that no one answers anymore. If I'm honest, I think I started taking people for granted before I even realized what that meant. I was always running late, always saying, let's catch up soon. I used to think love meant thinking of someone fondly, not actually showing up. I look back at my 30s sometimes. I was building a business then, small one, printing and mailing supplies. Nothing glamorous, but it paid well. I told myself I was working for my family's sake. My wife, Anna, she accepted that explanation without much complaint at first. We had 2 kids, both under 10, and she held the house together while I stayed at the office later and later. I dragged myself home thinking I was doing the noble thing by putting food on the table. She'd leave dinner warming in the oven, the light on in the kitchen. The truth is, I wasn't cruel. I was just distracted, always promising I'd take a weekend off soon, or that I'd plan a proper vacation next year. But next year kept moving farther and farther away. I remember one afternoon in particular. My son, James, must have been around 12. He came into my office holding a small model plane he'd built. He wanted me to come outside and see if it could glide from the porch. I told him I just needed 10 more minutes to finish an invoice. He nodded, said okay. By the time I shut my ledger and got outside, the sun was down and he'd gone back inside. The little plane was lying in the grass. You don't realize in moments like that what you're losing. You think there'll be another chance. Anna used to remind me to call my mother on Sundays. Looking back, I think she saw what I couldn't, that my mother was getting smaller, somehow thinner, quieter. I always said I'd call next week. When I finally did, I could tell she was straining to remember what day it was. She died 2 months later, and I somehow convinced myself that I had still been a good son. Time has a way of helping you believe your own excuses. The damage of all that doesn't show up right away. It sneaks in. You start noticing little gaps in conversations. Your children stop telling you everything. Your wife starts saying, nothing's wrong, and means, I'm tired of trying. You carry on thinking things will settle themselves. But people don't settle, they drift. When Anna got sick, lung cancer, though she never smoked much, I told myself I'd finally slow down. I pictured long afternoons sitting by her bed holding her hand, talking about the old days. But it's funny how even when you plan to give your whole attention to someone, habit keeps tugging at you. I kept taking work calls in the hallway. Kept running small errands because I didn't want to just sit around waiting. It wasn't until the nurse told me she was slipping fast that I realized I'd been waiting for her to get better before I really showed up. She was gone 3 days later. That was the first time time itself started to feel dangerous, like something that could cut right through you. I retired the following year because I couldn't stand walking into that office. But even then, I didn't put much effort into reaching out to people. My kids had their own lives. I assumed we'd catch up properly after things settled. There's always something to settle, though. Work. Kids, their own worries. I don't blame them. They learned from me how to keep moving. Now, the days blend together in a way that sometimes feels like a slow fade. I have breakfast the same way every morning. 2 slices of toast, black coffee, 1 boiled egg. I stare out the window a lot. I think of faces. Not memories, just faces. My father's laughter, my wife humming quietly in the next room, my son's voice when he finally beat me at chess. These things hit me harder than any talk about growing old or dying. I used to picture old age as a time to reminisce fondly. But reminiscing hurts. It's like opening a drawer full of beautiful things you never took proper care of. I suppose what I'm trying to say is the idea that your youth is the thing you lose, it isn't quite true. Youth is just time mixed with possibility. What you really lose are the chances to show up for people when they're still here. And by the time you understand that, most of those chances are already used up. There's one afternoon I replay often. It was maybe 20 years ago, long after Anna was gone. My daughter, Ellen, invited me to dinner at her place. I said yes, but when the day came, I was tired and didn't feel like driving the hour across town. I told her I'd come next weekend instead. She said okay. 2 weeks later, she called to tell me her husband had taken a new job overseas and they'd be moving. They left before that next weekend came. That's how you lose people. You push one small thing to later, and later becomes never. Don't think I don't have good memories. I do. There's laughter in them. Fishing trips, birthdays, that one Saturday we painted the porch and ended up listening to old songs on the radio until midnight. But looking at them now, I see how fragile those moments were. You think someone will always be around because they've always been around. Then you blink, and you're the only one left telling the story. I sometimes get letters from people who knew me back when old coworkers, neighbors. They say things like, "Remember those Friday lunches?" And I try to remember, I really do, but the details blur. I held on to all the wrong memories, the deadlines, the numbers, the worries. The good moments slip through my fingers because I never paused long enough to hold them properly. There's something else that surprises me, how quickly you become a name on other people's meant-to-call list. I don't blame anyone. Life's heavy and it moves faster than you think. But it's strange to realize that the people I once felt too busy for are now too busy for me. That's fair, I suppose. It's the balance of things. What you give and what you don't somehow comes back to you. I don't tell you this to be pitiful. I've had a good life by most measures. Roof over my head, food when I wanted it, a mind still mostly clear. But I want to say this out loud before the words fade from me, because I don't think people hear it enough. It's not youth you'll miss. It's not even health, though that's nice too. What you'll miss are the ordinary days you shared with people who made you forget time was passing. You'll miss being part of the background noise in someone else's life. If what I'm saying means anything to you, hold someone's hand while you can. Don't announce it. Don't make it a grand gesture. Just stay a little longer. I used to think love disappeared when people died, but I've learned it really disappears when it's left unspoken. These days I walk slower. I talk less. There isn't much left to fix. But some mornings when the sky's just starting to change color, I think of everyone I once thought would always be there, and I feel grateful I had them at all, even if I didn't know how to keep them properly. That's the strange mercy of getting old. Time takes almost everything, but it leaves you the truth. And the truth is, I don't miss being young. I just miss being with the people who made being young matter.